we're going to do something. Today I thought what we try to do is look at, not generally we look at you as individuals, but not look at you as an individual, but look at the human race per se, okay? And let's pretend, well, I mean pretend, but let's say you're God, all right? And you come up with an idea, and you're gonna construct the universe. So, you know, you make all these different planets flying around, and one you make very special. This one here is different than the others. You know, I don't know how to make maps. I don't know. It looks like an explosion. But anyhow, one is kind of different than the other. This one here, you decide, I'm going to put oceans there. I'll put an ocean. And you know what? Then you say, we'll put trees, because all these other ones have mountains, but we're going to put trees here. And you know what? We'll put dolphins in the oceans and whales. And we'll make birds. And we'll make funny animals. We'll make like hippopotamuses. And we'll make giraffes and all this stuff. And then what we'll do now, don't forget, all the rest of this is kind of junky. There's nothing. But this is really special. Beautiful green and blue. And we'll even make an ozone layer around here so that, you know, the things that live there can't get hurt by the sun. See, so this is going to be great. We're going to make that. Now, this is the thing. The point is, next what we'll do, you'll decide what we'll do, is we'll put people there. Okay? Now, what I'd like you to consider and think about, here you have all of these other places which don't make a whole lot of sense, you know, other than the sun. These other planets, nothing going on. But this one is a special place. Oceans, dolphins, whales, giraffes, and skies, and mountains, all beautiful things, and snow, and water, and and a special protection so that the sun can't hurt anybody, you know, all of these things. Now the point being, you're going to put all these people on it. What do you want? What's the purpose? What would you want the people to do? This is your idea. In other words, you've made this beautiful place, and now you're going to put people on it. For what purpose? What reason do you think you would put the people on there? What would you think?
To take care of it.
Take care of it.
To take care of it.
Good.
And each other.
To take care of it and each other. Anybody else?
To enjoy it.
To enjoy it. Right. Because it's really a beautiful thing. I mean, if you take all the things in the universe that we can see, there's only one like that. Really gorgeous. Anybody else any ideas? To take care of it, to enjoy it. In other words, to have fun. And to take care of it. Okay. You wouldn't ever dream then, by enjoying it and taking care of it, that all the people that you would put there would drop bombs on it. I mean, big bombs. And they'd try to make the biggest bombs they could to destroy as much of it as possible. And that the ones that are here are supposed to be enjoying it, and yet there's a terrible, terrible feelings that go on between all of these people. They hate each other, they fight with each other, and so then you'd say, what happened? This isn't what you intended. You said that they were supposed to take care of it, and they're dropping bombs on it. And even this ozone layer, what you put this up so that it would protect them from the sun, and now you hear that they made a hole in that. Not only made atomic holes in this, they made a hole in that. And they're supposed to be enjoying it and having fun, but they're not having a whole lot of fun. In fact, they're all scared to death down here. How would you do this? In other words, you can't, if you're quote unquote God, you can't just dump a bunch of people down there and say, well, you know, just go at it, right? What would you do? How would you in some way make it so that they could keep in touch with you? Shouldn't there be some way that you can instruct these people? And maybe then you would say, well, we'll send teachers. We'll send teachers. And then you look and you look at the record and say, well, gee, most of the teachers that they sent, these people have killed. Wow. So it's kind of screwed up. You know, one of the things, when you said enjoy it, one of the things that I was thinking of, I was going to play, in fact, next week we're going to do it. I was talking to Joe, I wanted to play a Delbert McClinton song on, where's Vinny? on the songs. Because I love Delbert McClinton, but Delbert McClinton songs you can't really play in church. He doesn't sing those kind of songs. But he sings this one song that is called "Give Me One More Last Chance." And this is the way we pray. It's not "Give me one more chance." Give me one more last chance. But then I said to myself, well, there's a problem with this because in the song he says, "Give me one more last chance, baby." I said, well, I can't do that. Then I thought to myself, wait a minute. That's it. Here we're praying, we're saying, "Oh, Heavenly Father, who dwells in thy divine realm and manifests in the glory of the universe." And I said, what? That's not the way we talk. This is it. We got to pray. Give me another chance, baby. You know what I'm saying? Hey, sweetie, this is the pits. This is screwed up, sweets. Let's do something. Maybe we're not enjoying ourselves, and maybe we've been cast into some kind of a position of total make-believe that we can't relate to this thing and the reality of it at all because we've made it religious instead of understanding the reality of it. And so what I thought was, if this is screwed up, how did we get to this point? Because let's face it, what are you looking for to see happen? What's supposed to happen? And everybody's just like you. Nobody knows what's supposed to happen. Is there going to be another war? Is there going to be more people that are dying of AIDS, or they're dying of drugs, or they're killing each other, they're dropping bombs on each other? And it just seems that when you turn on television, it seems to be a crisis and a crisis and a crisis. And then somebody will go to counseling, and I'm sure Joan would testify to this. And then you get able to handle your problem. Here you are, finally in counseling, you're able to handle your problem, you're able to take care of the problem that's bothering you, but then another problem comes, a different problem. And you're not able to handle that problem because there's still that same basic flaw inside of here. And so then we start to try to figure out, and what's the religious connotation of what we can do with this whole thing? The mess continues, the destruction continues, and you're told pray. Pray. So what do you pray? Oh, God, do something. This is screwed up. Do something right away. I can't handle this anymore. But as we said last week, remember we were talking about, here's him, here's prayer, here's heaven up here, here's you down here. Who are you talking to? Who's listening to you? Yes?
Religion is the basic flaw.
Yeah, well, that's a very good point. Religion is the basic flaw. Religion is the catalyst to destruction. There's no question about that. Because nobody is telling you here that in order for the prayer, in order for that communication to touch what is heaven, there has to be a link constructed. But the point what I wanted to make this morning is, if we've reached this point and you don't know what you want to see happen or where we're supposed to go, because let's face it, the only thing you're doing is you're sitting on this planet like so many fleas on a tennis ball waiting to croak. Every day. What happened? Every day you get a little closer. You're rolling it towards the edge. And then what happens? Oh, you had a great life. Then they cart you off to this guy's beautiful building down on Highway 9 somewhere. They stick paper in your mouth, give you half a suit, put you in a box, and everybody comes in and says, "Oh, this looks great." This is the whole thing. So there's something wrong. There's something radically wrong. So you have to say, how did we get here? Maybe, just maybe, if we start to retrace our steps as to how we got here, we can find where we're supposed to be. See, somewhere along the line, there had to be a purpose, because this particular planet is so different than the others and has all the protections built in, all the beauty. There was a reason, a purpose of some nice place. This is a real nice hutsy-tutsy place you came to live in. It's got the Alps. So there was a reason and a purpose that we were going to have fun here. But we didn't want to have fun. And so we screwed it up. Now, if we were supposed to come on this path, this is fun. Come down this path and we'll all have fun together. Somewhere along this path we've gone off here. So what I was figuring is, if somehow we could retrace our steps as to how we got screwed up, maybe we could find our way back on this path and come to where we're supposed to be. Because you have no reason, you have no purpose, you don't even have any reason to be here. What are you here for? What do you exist for? Just taking up space. You're sucking oxygen in and depriving other people of sucking oxygen in, and you're just doing nothing, waiting to croak. And then they got to bury you and go through all this. They go, how much does it cost to bury you? It costs about $8,000 to bury you. I go up and I see my father's in the cemetery that looks worse than the Bronx. You couldn't find that man's body if you wanted to. There's 10 billion stones up there. Those stones should be eliminated and then make a park out of it. Let dogs go out and all these different things, because we don't even know. What are we here for? What are you here for sitting here? Nobody knows. So then maybe if it's fun, this is what I would like to think. We are here to have fun. We're here to have a good time. We're here to enjoy ourselves. Aren't you happy? Well, I'm having. And you know what you're all saying? You get to the point when you're about 75, 80, 90 years old, you know what you're saying? Are we having fun yet? I don't know, Jesus. I'm having fun, boy. This is great, ain't it? Give me some more Jell-O. Yeah, I love it. This is a hell of a good time we're having here. We missed it somewhere. Somebody gave us the most magnificent thing in the world to have fun with, and we screwed it up, It's just like a kid that goes into a rage and breaks his Tinker Toys, and just stomps on them and all of this stuff. That's what we did. We had this thing and we broke it. So we try to retrace our steps and find out, are we supposed to have, like Carol said, religion is the source of the problem. So let's look at a few scriptures, which is all, that's not so much fun, but, the way we do it, it can be fun. But let's look at some of the old documents and try to retrace our steps back from the point where we are now and find the pathway that would take you to the place where you should be able to enjoy stuff, where you should be able to follow a new direction and enjoy life. Otherwise, there's no hope. I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what your plans are. You're looking for security. How many of you have children? Okay, you're building for your children's security, right? You're living on a tennis ball going 45,000 miles an hour through the universe with nobody driving it, and you're looking for security. Can you imagine such a thing like this? Going in between the asteroids and black holes and all of these things, and you're looking for security. The security that you have to understand comes from one place, in here. If you don't have security in here, you don't have it. You'll never have it from outside, because your security is totally predicated on somebody else's ideas. Somebody else's thoughts, somebody else's security is your security. You want to have security, you put your money in the bank. The bank goes down, what happens? There goes your money. So you're totally tuned in to somebody else instead of being tuned in to yourself. And so what does the Apostle Paul say? I would say most of the people that are sitting in this room at one time have had an experience in Christian churches, whether it be Methodist or Catholic or Baptist or what it is, you've all had experiences in it. You've all had experiences in baptism. You've all had experiences in believing and having faith in God. You've all had experiences in learning about eternal life and all of these things. The Apostle Paul comes up with one of the first steps that we have to do in order to retrace ourselves back to this point where we're going to have some fun. And he says on page 979 something that's interesting and that you should take a look at. And probably something that nobody has ever showed you before, probably something you've never seen in the Bible before, but nonetheless it's there. And it's in Hebrews and it's in chapter 6 and it's in verse 1, okay? And this is the problem. And this is the point where you've screwed up, where we've screwed up, where we've gotten off the thing, we're praying, we're doing all these kind of religious things. You keep the holidays and you do all of these things, but it gets more violent and worse and worse. In Hebrews chapter 6, the Apostle Paul says in verse 1, leaving the principles of the doctrines of Christ, let us go on to perfection. Leave the principles of the doctrines of Christ. Get away from the principles of the doctrines of Christ. He says it in the Bible. And then what does he say? Not laying again the foundation of repentance from dead works. Don't bother with that stuff. You don't have to try to become good because you've done this or you've done this wrong or you've done that wrong. Don't worry about that. He says don't worry about faith towards God. You know what faith is? Faith is something that you've got to have when you're not sure. That's the only time you'll ever have to have faith in something is when you're not sure. And look what he says. Baptisms, get rid of it. Laying out of hands, get rid of it. Resurrection of the dead, get rid of it. Eternal judgment, get rid of it. Don't mess with that stuff anymore. And go on to perfection. There's the key word, perfection. That's what we've missed. That's what we've lost. That's what you've lost. And unfortunately, your mind has become a monkey jungle of screaming and carrying on because you've failed to find this place of perfection. Don't have any idea what it is. I can't be perfect. Yes, you can. How do I become perfect? Oh, and you shut down the thoughts of the mind, and once there is not one of your thoughts active in your mind, you have reached the point of perfection. You throw open the right hemisphere of the brain, and things start happening in a new way, in a way of nature, and in a way of this thing that you call God, and it comes from the right hemisphere of the brain. That's why you're supposed to sit at the right hand of the Father, because you're supposed to take yourself to the right hemisphere of the brain. And all of these things that are perfection, that get you away from religion, are the things that religion says are occult and evil and will damn you. Because they're scared to death of losing control of you, and that's exactly what happens when you get on to perfection. And that's the first thing we've got to understand. If we're going to find our way back, we're going to have to get away from the praying. You're going to have to get away from the religious stuff. You're going to have to get away from the traditional concepts of your religion and your government, and you're going to have to go to perfection. Because your government's screwed up, your religion's screwed up, both of them are extremely violent, both of them have got their hands in your pocket, and you're going to have to individuate back into yourself and find perfection. And it's extremely easy to do. You don't have to join any church to find perfection. You don't have to spend any money to find perfection, but you have to do something which you've never done before. You have to get acquainted with yourself. And most people cannot stand to sit with themselves because they bore themselves. And then you wonder why nobody else likes to hang around with you. You can't even hang around with yourself. I can't sit here. Did you ever try it? Go to meditate. I've seen people come in here on Tuesday and Thursday. They come in to meditate. I can't sit. They get up and sneak out the door. Then they go, where are they? They're on Route 9 in Forked River. They look up and down. Where are you going? I don't know. I've got to go. I can't stand. I can't sit down in a minute. You know, because, you never knew that you had a self. Because everything that is the self is nothing more than the seeds of other people's ideas. Old dead man's bones stuck in here. And so we got to look. We got to go somewhere. Where are we going to go? I don't know where I'm going. It's like your father, you tell your kids, don't do this. Why? Because. Why? Because. Just because. I don't know why. Nobody knows why. Just because. So what does Jesus say in Matthew 7:7? He says, ask. Seek, knock, look. Don't sit there like a fakakta singing Amazing Grace, what a wretch you are. Get up and ask somebody. Say, what the heck is this about? Go into a church and say, hey, wait a minute, stop it. Whoa. What's this about? And you know what they'll tell you? So everything good happens when you're dead. I say, I don't want that to happen when I'm dead. Because they put paper in your mouth and give you half a suit and put you in a box. I don't want to hear about that. I want to have it now. That's why Reverend Ike, you can't lose with the stuff I use. He says, put some chocolate cake on your plate now and put some vanilla ice cream and some strawberries on top. You want it now. And you know what Jesus Christ says? God is not a God of the dead. God is a God of the living. What a deal. What a deal. We are such suckers. Give us your money. Come every day, sing a song, study a little bit with us. We'll give you a little incense. We'll throw a little stuff on you. And then everything will really go good after you're dead. It's like going to a guy to buy a car. You only have to pay 3 cents a month for this car. It's a 1993 Cadillac, and you pay 3 cents a month, and it's yours. You pick it up after you're dead. What a deal! Can you imagine you sell an invisible product and you don't have to deliver it until everybody's dead? And they're coming in there putting money in, 10% of their money. Hey, that sounds like a deal to me. Here, do you take credit cards? I'll have some of that. Come on. So, look at Matthew chapter 6. It's on page 782. Jesus talks about the same perfection. In Matthew chapter 6, verse 22, Jesus Christ, is that page 786? Well, 785, whatever it is. In Matthew chapter 6, verse 22, what is it? 781. He says, if you practice the single eye, that freaks everybody out. That's in religious, the fundamentals, because that's talked, you ever see in the center of your head, that's talking about that which is there, the pineal gland of the brain. Activate the pineal gland of the brain. Practice that which is the single eye. And then you come to this place of perfection. You come to this place of understanding. You come to this place of rising above that which are the thoughts of your own mind, rising above that which are the things that you've been trying to encounter all of your life. You rise above that because there's no place else to go. I want to show you something very interesting. If you go to page 440, you'll come to the book of Job. And I want you to take a look at Job chapter 11. It's very interesting. Job chapter 11, all right, and verse 7. It says, can you by searching find out God? Can you find out the Almighty unto perfection? Do you see that? Can you? You should be able to. Look at verse 8. It is as high as heaven. That's what's in you. What can you do? Deeper than hell. What can you know? It's all within you. It is as low as that which is the lower mind. It is as high as that which is the higher mind. Go to verse 13. If you prepare your heart, that means your mind, and stretch out your hands towards Him, that means your energy. Prepare your mind. Energize yourself to direct yourself to that thing which is within you that you call God. Then it says in verse 14, if iniquity be in your hand, put it far away. Let not wickedness dwell in your tabernacles. That means take no thought. Shove away the thoughts of the mind. Leave yourself totally naked of those thoughts. Stretch your energy out to that which is the God within you. Look at verse 15. For then shall you lift up your face without spot. It's no thought. And you shall be steadfast and shall not fear. Okay? And look what it says in verse 18. And you shall be secure because there is hope. You shall dig about yourself, and there you shall take your rest in safety. And how? In the same way that Paul says, perfection. Finding that which is within you. Building every time you come into meditation, you build that level a little higher, a little higher, a little higher, a little higher, until you finally touch that which is perfection, until you finally touch that which is the heaven that dwells within you. There is no other way. There is absolutely no other way, and you've been alive long enough to know there's no other way. You've seen the chaos, and you see the violence, and you see the wars, and you see all of the atrocities and all of the hell that goes on. There's people that just shooting each other because they think differently, because all religion gets into a pride. I'm proud to be a Catholic. I'm proud to be a Baptist. I'm proud to be a Methodist. I'm proud of whatever. I have the right thing and all the rest of the people are wrong. That makes everybody else your enemy. And it's nothing but hell. Pure hell. So we go to the beginning. And in order to go to the beginning, and in order to find your way back, there are certain things that you have to understand, and they're not hard to understand once you get the key. You have to understand allegory. That means you have to be able to discern when somebody is telling you a symbolic story. You have to understand a story that does not mean what it says. Just like if I say, let's go shoot the bull, I don't mean shoot a bull, I mean have a conversation. You got to understand cosmology. You can call it astrology if you want to. Look at it from the scientific basis. You can call it astronomy. You have to have just a slight understanding of that. And you have to understand the compass points. The 4 compass points. Because that's the way all ancient scriptures talk. The compass points, astrology, astronomy, cosmology, significance, and allegory, symbols. You have to understand that. It's not hard to understand that. Because none of this stuff, whether it be the Bible, whether it be the Vedas of Krishna, or whether it be the sutras of Buddha, none of them talk in straight language. They all talk in symbols. Every single one. You don't talk in straight language. You talk in symbols. Do you realize you talk in symbols all the time? Let's go shoot the bull. He's 3 sheets to the wind. It's right on the nose. He's green with envy. He spilled the beans. You know. We had one. Thank you very much. That's good. Appreciate it. We had one. I forget what it was that we said last week. And in talking, we just normally talk in symbols, and that's the way the ancient testaments talk. Now let's take the compass points so that you understand. When you look north, east is always on the right side. Nice. Is this good for me? When you look north, east is always on the right side. So then when the Bible talks about the right side, righteousness, sitting at the right hand of the Father, it's always talking about the east. When it talks about the eastern star, when it talks about the star of Bethlehem being in the east, when it talks about the wise men coming from the east, it's talking about wisdom coming from the right side. You've got to understand that. All right? So, what we're doing then is we're just using the basic things that we know. We use maps and we use directions and so forth and so on. But let's just concentrate on this. Understanding that east and the right side are one and the same thing. All right? And then you can go and you can start to understand things. Let's go to page 2 of the Bible. And page 2 of the Bible, Genesis chapter 2. All right? Now, what's the first thing you learned as a little child? You learned about the Garden of Eden. And that's a place. Remember? Nobody had any clothes on. They were running around eating fruit with no clothes on. Many of you do that now, but I mean... But in those days, it was called the Garden of Eden. Now, what do we say? Genesis chapter 2. You there? Go to verse 8. What's it say? And the Lord God planted a garden eastward in Eden. It's important. Planted eastward. In other words, the Garden of Eden is the right side. But it's not out there somewhere. It's in here. You have the Garden of Eden inside of you. And inside of that garden, inside of you at the right side, is the tree of life. In here. Okay? So the location of the place of oneness is the Garden of Eden, where all things are totally under the control of God. It's at the right side. Look at Genesis 2:9. The tree of life was in the midst of the garden. See that in the last sentence? And the tree of the knowledge of good and evil is also in the midst of the garden. So you have two trees inside of your head. You have the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and you have the tree of life. In your mind, inside of you. Don't think of them anyplace else. Think of them in your head is the Garden of Eden. In my head is the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and also the tree of life. Now, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil is exactly what it says. I'm looking for direction. I'm looking for understanding. So I take fruit from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And what I think is a good idea, but also what I don't understand, is that there is also evil in there. It always does, and that's where I would say, geez, I thought it was a good idea. I didn't know it was going to screw everything up. I'd have never said that. If I'd have known this was going to happen, I'd have never done it. Because you took from the knowledge of what you thought was good, but it turned out to be evil. When your instructions come from the, see, what do we have? We kill the animals. We rape the children. The children are on drugs. The planet is destroyed. The ozone layer is being destroyed because we took from the knowledge of good and evil. Our instructions did not come from the tree of life. What does it say? Look at Genesis chapter 2 where you are. Look at verse 17. But the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, you shall not eat of it. And your entire religious experience comes from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. That's all you're ever taught. This is good, this is bad. This is God, this is the devil. You're fed it and fed it and fed it. You teach your children in Sunday school about the devil and the demons and about going to hell. You're teaching about evil. Then you teach about God. But all that's ever been instructed for you to do was to teach about good. Take from the tree, which is located in the east side in the Garden of Eden. When we eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, we take into ourselves truth, but at the same time, we also take into ourselves doubt. Did you ever tell somebody to do something, then you talk to somebody else and say, geez, maybe I shouldn't have said that? I don't know. I don't know. What do you think is going to happen? I don't know, but if he does this, we're going to have a whole lot of trouble. Geez, I wish I hadn't have said that. Because you took from the tree of knowledge of good and evil when it says in the Bible, don't eat from there. And so how am I going to tell anybody? You go to the garden at the right side, and you sit in the garden of the right side, and you take from the fruit that grows in the garden at the right side. It is the tree of life. It is the tree of God, and you'll know what to do every time. You've never been told that. I don't care if it's your job. Whatever decision I have to make, if it's serious in my job, you know what I do? I shut the door in my office. And if you don't have an office, you can go in the John. They have doors in those places. Go in one of them, make it your office. Sit down for a minute, hold your breath, shut down, say, I've got to do this. Okay. And just hold your breath for 15 or 20 seconds. And that information will come to you. It really will. You'll start activating the right side. How can we even be proud of the destruction that we brought upon children, that we brought upon the planet? You even had dolphins and whales committing suicide to display to you. Do you know what that was? That was God. That is God stranding himself on the beach and saying, hey, you're pathetic. And then if you have the scientists opening the brains of the dolphins and the whales trying to find out, hey, why are these animals committing suicide? But up someplace in the eons of the wisdom of that which is universe, somebody is saying to God, hey, their kids are committing suicide. What's going on? Something's wrong. Something's not right. So our first step then to turn away from the direction is to turn to the right side. You haven't done it. You don't do it. And when the kids get screwed up, it's because the instruction has come from the left side. And you got to turn to the right side. So we've got to start abstaining from the fruit of the mind. And that doesn't mean that you don't think. I think constantly, you think constantly, but you've got to set aside time when you can go into that garden and sit by yourself in meditation for 15 or 20 seconds. Not minutes, not hours, seconds. And open the gate in there and have a piece of fruit. Jesus makes it very clear in Matthew 6:25 to 6:33, take no thought for your life. He doesn't mean don't worry. He's saying you want to have life, take no thought. You want to have money, take no thought. You want to have clothes, take no thought. You want to have health, take no thought. Take no thought for all of these things. And all of these things will come to you. When we abstain from that tree, what happens? Look at page 1003 in the Bible, Revelation chapter 2. 1003. Revelation chapter 2 in verse 7, what did it say? He that hears an ear, let him see. To him that overcomes will I give to eat of the tree of life, which is in the midst of the paradise of God. Yes, stand up.
I just wanted you to clarify, because there's a lot of new people. You're not saying to take no thought to look for things. You know, to look for, you know, like clothes and commodities. You're not
Oh,
saying,
yes. You absolutely go into a store, shut your eyes, and go, oh, and say, whatever you pick off the rack, I want it. But, of course not.
Well, I want you to explain that, because there's a lot of new people.
Who would be that
you're
new?
not- but, Billy, you're not teaching a prosperity message. That's what I want you to clarify.
Oh,
please.
no. Oh, okay. I'm not saying that if you close your mind off, you're going to get new shoes. I'm not talking about that. What I am saying is that so things come in your life, you start receiving information from the right hemisphere instead of the left. You start receiving information from the east, and then just go about your business and do all of your things, but start dwelling in the right side. I am not telling you as a self-serving thing, I want clothes. What Jesus is trying to say to the world, take no thought, and all of these other things will come to you, and you won't have to worry about them. But we haven't done that, okay? We haven't done that. Okay, so as individuals, we move to the carnal side, and we've moved from the east to the west. Now, what we find in symbolism is that, and let's just push this a little bit, the Jews are God's chosen people, okay? Comes from the root of the word Judah. These are the Jews, God's chosen people. There's a very interesting thing which religion has neglected and which we have neglected, and I want you to be very sure and look very carefully at that. And I think Joan's point was well taken, and I didn't catch it right away. You're not meditating to get things for yourself. You're meditating to bring this world back into a oneness with God. But let's take a look at Jews as God's chosen people. I want you to look at a scripture which sets the thing straight and tells you exactly what's going on with that. Page 920. Okay? Page 920. Look at Romans chapter 2. Okay? Romans chapter 2. Page 920. Look at verse 28. For he is not a Jew which is one outwardly. Oh, I hope this is all right. See my. Now, but look at verse 29. He is a Jew which is one inwardly. It has nothing to do with Jews who live in Palestine. Nothing. It has to do with that which is the Jew which is one inwardly. And let me show you what is the Jew inwardly. Once again, you with me? Let's look at that astronomical thing in the compass chart. North, south, east, west. Remember what I said? East and right are the same thing. The right side. Go to page 115. Look at the book of Numbers. Look at Numbers chapter 2 and verse 3. And on the east side, towards the rising of the sun, shall they of the camp of Judah pitch. If you are a Jew, inwardly, you are pitching your camp at the right side. I'm going by what it says in the Bible. Now let me show you something, because there are some new people here. I want to prove to you the scientific proof of the Bible as something you can put your faith in, not from a religious standpoint. What this is the constant speed of light, 186,400. Does everybody have a Bible there? That should have. At least you can share it with somebody. I want to show you something really interesting. You're in Numbers chapter 2. Remember the tribe of Judah? Position yourself at the east, at the point of the rising sun. They are the children of light. They were called the children of light. Watch this. Chapter 9. All that were in the camp of Judah were 100,000. See it? 100,000. 80,000. 80 is 4 times 20. That's 80,000. 180,000. And 6,000. And 400. 186, 400. The speed of light. $186,000 for. So how can it be? Some guy came up to me the last time I did this. He says, you know, I think that's screwed up because there was nobody there that at that time knew the speed of light. I said, that's the point. How could it be? Somebody gives in a number here to the number in the tribe of light to be the speed of light. How could it be? So to be a spiritual Jew and one of God's chosen, we must join those who camp at the right side. And the only way you can do that is with meditation. You can't do it any other way. So we see where we must establish ourselves. Look. Watch me here. See this number here? It's the number of Adam. The value of Adam. The center of life. All right? Atom and atom are the same thing. Atom and atom, this is Egyptian, are the same thing. When God takes a rib out of Adam to procreate the species, it means when you take an electron out of an atom, you multiply the energy. What the Bible is saying by God taking a rib out of Adam, that all life sprung from the splitting of the atom. I know that makes too much sense, but nonetheless, the religious people would much rather hear you say that he ripped a rib out of this poor sucker and made his wife. Oh, I believe every word of the Bible. I can't believe this. This is too damn sensible. I can't say this is science. This is what it means. It means the splitting of the atom, and that's where life came from. Has anybody tell you that before? Why didn't they tell you that before? Why should I think of this in the basement of Vito's building here? Number 9 is the number of consciousness. 9 is the higher mind and the lower mind. Watch. Go with me. Page, whatever it is. Revelation, I think it's 13. So I got to hurry now as I'm getting late. And this is, I always hate this part. All right, Revelation 13, verse 18. What page is that on, Joanne? Because you don't have a Bible, that's why. Huh? 1009. 1009, 1010. Can I hear 1011? 1011. I'll take 1011. How about 1012? 1013 over here, 1014. Okay.
What verse do you want?
The thirsty one. What's the thirsty one? What verse do you want? All right, I know what you're saying. Verse 18. Come on, everybody, with me? This is good. Isn't this fun? I told you we're going to change your life. You're going to have fun. Look at the fun we have. Here is wisdom. Let him count the number of the beast, for his number is 666. 600, 3 score is 60, and 6. 6, 6, 6. Add it up. 18. 1 plus 8 equals 9. The beast is in your head. You want to see a picture of the beast? Everybody file out. Either take the men's room or the ladies' room, depending on your particular sexual persuasion. Look in the mirror hanging over, and there you'll see the beast. And the beast, you know what I was thinking? Because I have a tendency, because of my job, I've been coloring my hair a little bit. Just a little on here. I was like, get rid of the gray. You know, there's a lot of gray up there. So we were watching Joseph's Coat of Many Colors. We were coming out to Jones, so I'm a Billy's Head of Many Colors. You know, because you never know what color it's going to be. This could be spiritual. This may be from God. Now look at the very next sentence. What does it say? And behold, on Mount Zion, I saw the Lamb of God. How many? 144,000. 1 plus 4 plus 4 equals 9. Now, watch what Jesus Christ says. We're talking here about the right side. Watch, 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 watch. I know it's getting late, but watch anyhow. Here we go. Page 886, John chapter 21. Page 886, John chapter 21. And Jesus Christ says in verse 6, cast your net to the right side and you'll catch fish. Right? You see that? Go to verse 11. Simon Peter went up and drew the net. How many fish did they catch? 153. 1 plus 5 plus 3 equals 9. Cast your net to the right side and you'll find. You'll understand. You'll have wisdom. You'll have enlightenment. You'll know what your purpose is. You'll know what the purpose of the world is. You'll know where you're going. You'll know where this whole universe is going. You'll start to flow with that, which is the wisdom of the universe. You see, let me just show you something real quick. Do you ever hear about the Tower of Babel? That's where everybody started making up their own religions, going to build a tower to heaven. And what went wrong? Let me show you what went wrong when we followed these mobs and these groups and these tribes and these denominations. Page 8 in the Bible. Page 8, Genesis chapter 11. And you'll see what happened. Genesis chapter 11, verse 2. It came to pass as they journeyed from the east. They left the east. They went to the west. They left the right side. They went to the left side. And they said, we're going to build a tower. And then, you know what happened? Look what you got. You got Methodists, Baptists, Catholics, Jews, Hindus, Buddhists, Muslims, all of this kind of stuff. And look what it says. They went to this plain, which means confusion. They tried to build a city. And it says in verse 8. He's got that? So they went to build the city. In verse 9, the Lord confounded the language, and they couldn't understand one another. And you know what? They still can't. They don't understand one another. They're very suspicious of one another. And you know what? The Catholics have white bricks to build theirs, and the Baptists have blue bricks, and the Hindus have green bricks, and the Buddhists have red bricks. And everybody said, this is the kind of bricks you got to use. If you don't use these bricks, you're not going to build it. And they're all off building their bricks, and everybody said, very interesting. And they're all building bricks, and the whole thing, they didn't get cocked. They didn't even have the foundation. They have nothing. The thing falling down every time they build it goes up, goes down, it goes up. And then you're said to say what? God says to you, no. God dwells in a temple not made with human hands. And the only temple not made with human hands is right there. It's you. Your temple. Wow. So, we have traveled individually away from the right side. We did this because there was no one to tell us otherwise. But there was somebody to tell you otherwise. And he wrote it in the Bible. And he wrote it and he said exactly the same. Remember the guy that said to you before, go on to perfection, get away from all of these traditional things, get away from baptism, get away from all of this belief in God, get away from all of this stuff. This same guy told you how to be present with the universal oneness of that which is God. And look what he said. And please read it. We did have teachers, but they didn't tell us what the teachers meant. They didn't tell us what the teachers were saying. Go to page 945. Go to the book of 2 Corinthians, and I promise you I'm very close to being done because I know you sat for a long time. But please look at this. Look at it with your own eyes and see what he said. And maybe you can even read it to me. Because some of you have had this happen to you. And sometimes this has frightened you. But what did he say? Therefore, page whatever it was, 945, 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 6, therefore we are always confident knowing that we are at home in the body, we are absent from the Lord. For we are confident, in verse 8 I say, and willing rather to be absent from the body and present with the Lord. That's your key. When you have that little scary out-of-body experience, that you've lifted yourself away from the flesh and into the arms of the universal Mother and Father God, as Paul has instructed, to get to perfection. So we followed our groups, and other people followed their group, and we've all been trying to build our towers to heaven, and at the same time, we're shooting guns and rockets and bombs all over the place, killing anybody that'll get in our way. And we still don't understand the other people. And we're all still wandering on the plane of confusion. You've got to turn to the east. You've got to turn to the right side. And this is the last thing we're going to do this morning, but I just want you to look at one last scripture, okay? Page 716. I want everybody to turn to it because it sums up everything I've tried to tell you. Because I'll tell you otherwise. I'll tell you otherwise. Your children, your life, the lives of those around you will get destroyed, utterly destroyed. Not because any God anywhere wants you to be, but because you haven't listened to the God who has told you it's within you. The tree of paradise, the Garden of Eden is within you. So if you care about the world, if you give a damn about your kids, if you care at all about yourself, then you'll do and you'll understand what I told you this morning, which doesn't cost you any money, but simply teaches you to tune into that which is your very own self. Look what it says on page 716, okay? And then we're done. It's in Ezekiel, the book of Ezekiel, chapter 43. Okay? Ezekiel, chapter 43. Maybe you'll even want to read it to me or with me because I think it's Ezekiel chapter 43, verse 2. And behold, the glory of the God of Israel came from the way of the east. It comes from the right side. And it will consume you and lift you. And it will bring you up to that holy place. And sure, you can't do it for yourself because you'll need it. But once the world starts tuning in, it's just like the song said this morning, what the world needs now is love. That's true. But love will not come unless the inner mind is changed. Because as long as there are wars going on inside of you, there's going to be wars going on the outside. But once you put to sleep that war on the inside, then you lift yourself up and then you're set free. Journey back to the east. Journey back to the place of perfection. Within yourself, closer than your breath, is the Garden of Eden. And all you've got to do is lift yourself up and say to your mind, I am trying to find that which is the Christ. And let your thoughts go and just let yourself drift upward into that holy place. And there'll be an old rusty gate that suddenly will turn gold, and it'll swing open, and there will be the garden, and there will be the tree. And there you can sit and eat, and there your life will be directed. And then finally you'll know what Jesus Christ was talking about. Because he and the Buddha and the Krishna and Muhammad, you can call them whatever you want, they're all the same people. And they were saying the same thing. It's inside of you. It's within you. Closer than your breath is heaven and life. Thank you very much for sharing this time with us.
Oh, isn't that nice? Thank you.